Welcome back to another Noob Hammer interview. This time I have Richard or Rick Calnon on here. So it's Rick speaking to Rick. He played Grey Knights at the Atlantic City Open. Jason Snagowski on his drive back from the Atlantic City Open actually was talking about his matchup with you, and he mentioned that I should get in touch with you because not only did you have an interesting list, which we will get into in a moment, but for a little teaser, he souped Grey Knights with Imperial Guards, so or Astra Militarum. So, Rick, why don't you go ahead and tell me about a little bit about yourself, how long you've been playing Warhammer, why you chose Grey Knights, and then we'll get into everything else that I want to ask you.
Yeah. So Warhammer goes back to 1994. I mean, I go back a significant amount of time playing this game, um, or playing GW games because me and I got into it playing with my son, and I played uh, Dark Elves at the time, and he played dwarves because always good to have the two.
Squats.
Always good to have the two things that hate each other the most actually fight all the time against each other. So that was how I got into the game. Um, I transitioned to from Warhammer, which is now aged into Age of Sigmar, into 40K, and just got infatuated with Demon Hunters at the time because that's what the
Okay.
Grey Knights were. So I
Yep.
actually got in on the original releasing of them. I have a whole bunch of actual metal first run Grey Knights, and I know them as Demon Hunters because that was the first book, and so I've been playing them. And then I just got stupidly stubborn and have played Grey Knights at every tournament I've gone to since that time,
That's
and have been
awesome.
head in my head a significant amount of times.
That's hey, that's awesome. Like, stick to your guns, right? Uh, Perseverance pays off. Don't quit.
Don't you see? I generally go by the philosophy: unless you die and you quit and you stop, you've never lost. It's just an ongoing struggle,
Yep.
right? Many battles make a war. Losing a battle doesn't lose the war until you quit, give up, or die. It's not over. So I'm good with the struggle. Continue the endless struggle of the grim, dark future.
Nice. Well then, well, I mean, what drove you? I mean, what drove you? What made you want to play Grey Knight so much? Like, out of all the armies you could have played in that time, because that was what, second editions when Demon Hunters came out.
Third.
It was
They
third.
actually
Oh, okay. Well,
they got
learned
actually
something.
introduced in third, and that's when I joined. So they were like the newest thing. They were Space Marines, but they were an elitist army, small model counts, high cost, and they basically did everything because they could uh, they did deep striking, which was a real strategy on how to get them onto the board. They did shooting, they did psychic, and then they did melee, and
Yeah.
uh, they were good in all three phases because they had a piece to add to each phase, and that's what. And then I started reading up on Grey Knights, reading the lore, reading the background story, and the indomitable, never-ending battle of good versus evil against chaos. And it's really, I shouldn't call it evil; I should call it chaos. The onset battle of Grey Knights against chaos and demons is the whole foundation of the army, and
Right.
I I like nothing more than to play a chaos army with demons. Somebody bring a demon army, and I'm like, oh yes, let's have a match. That
Yeah.
sounds like a really good match for me.
I I gotta be honest. I've actually never played a pure Chaos Army. I've played against Death Guard many times, but they have uh, if
Yeah,
a few demons in that army, but not like an actual demons army. That's for sure.
uh, uh, t- I actually played against a Chaos Army in the AOC. I think it was my fourth round. Uh,
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I mean
no,
we can.
fifth.
Okay.
But we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So, um, great. I mean, I did the same thing you did when I was looking at getting into this game. It was only January 2020 for me, so it hasn't been very long, but I really liked that Grey Knights were elite, low model count, and that they did something in every single phase. I thought that was really cool.
So you've only experienced the game in a pandemic environment,
Yep,
by and large. So
that's what
and
got
have
me
you
into the
gone?
game. It's
So
because
have
I was
you?
bored. Was bored at
It's good to be
home.
bored.
Yeah, like working
Bored at
from
home.
home. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing. I truly enjoy the game because of the tournaments. I like going to all the games, little tournaments, big tournaments, because there's so many more players. And you have such a chance to meet new people
Yeah, for
and
sure.
play interesting games against very, in most cases, interesting armies that are painted well, done up well, and it's nice to have a conversation, right?
Yeah,
It's good to
absolutely.
have a conversation.
I mean, not that you know my wife, but like if you asked her, I am a social butterfly. Like I'm an outgoing person. I mentioned this in another one of my videos, but like if I have a really stressful day at work, I want to like come home, call a friend, go out to a bar, have a drink, tell some jokes, right? Like that's how I unwind is by being social. So for me, that
And
is a draw of the game is that you are standing around a table together with your pretty little plastic Barbie dolls and you're pushing them across the table and you're cracking jokes and rolling dice. So I'm excited. In the Portland area, I haven't seen, there's a couple events in Seattle. There's not a
all right.
lot coming up in the Portland area at least, so but we're actually going into our mask mandate ends tomorrow. I've been fully vaccinated now for months. My wife
Yeah.
was one of the first few hundred people vaccinated in the state because she's a respiratory therapist. So, um, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we got our vaccinations, and this is Alabama that I'm currently living in, and it's interesting. We nobody people have not been running around with masks for at least a month now, at least a month,
yeah,
probably closer to two, and it's starting to feel a little, every day feels a little bit more like prior, the ability to go
before,
out
yeah,
before the pandemic.
right. So, are you up by Fort Rucker then, or?
Actually, we're at Redstone. So
Oh,
we're up
okay.
in Huntsville.
Okay.
We're at Rocket City. Lots and lots of very smart people all running around. It's an exceedingly large number
Gotcha.
of very smart people doing very, very important, levels of work.
Well, cool.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
I
that is,
know you were Army for a long time, so Army, right?
I've Army 20 years active and now 18 as a civilian. So I've got 38 years consistent.
Are you gonna
I've been
retire at 40 years in or what?
Actually, I'm gonna go overseas this year. Maybe by August. Maybe by August, probably no later than October. I'll be in Germany again, and I will
Very cool.
find games overseas and play there, and develop friends in that area. uh, go to London and go to England a couple times, because nothing is more exciting than to go to Nottingham and go to the home store of Games Workshop, where they produce things, where they make things, and see that stuff in live. It's a pretty for a gamer, for somebody that's in the hobby, that's Mecca.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty
That's
cool.
that's the shining star place. That's the mothership, basically, of of the game, for the game. And so I've always enjoyed, being able to roll into that place and see people. I've been able to do it a couple different times, and the last couple times have been writer events. I like the as much as I love the game, I really enjoy the lore and the stories.
Hmm.
And
Have you done any of your own crusades yet? Because that's actually how I started when I started playing Ninth. As my friends and I leapt into some narrative crusades.
that sounds, yeah. I don't have a close enough group of people I play with to do it. Maybe now, but I just found a really strong group in the area, and I bet we could have done that. We could do that, but I will be gone
That's
before I ever get very
yeah.
far into it. So
Well, I
that's a good
mean,
idea. It's a really great way to get people into the game, and the crusading piece that that tracking piece, and that growing of the army and abilities, is really a neat additive to
yeah,
playing 40K.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. So, well, very cool. So you've been playing a very long time. You've been a Grey Knights fanatic pretty much through and through. Have you toed out into any other armies ever, or have you
Um,
just pretty much been demon hunters since third?
so I've got a full Space Marine army that's painted up as soul drinkers. Total purple
Okay.
paint screen, total purple paint scheme, and it's more than 100 models, more than 100 uh, uh, little men done up, and then I have a bunch of Deathwatch done up, some Harlequins done up. Bought some Astra Matillis, which is the guard, Imperial Guard. No matter what they change the name, it will always be the guard to me. Uh, so I got some guard pieces, and then I have some sisters, and then Sisters of Silence, and then about every Inquisition model that's ever been produced, I probably own and have together and painted, mostly. So I think that's the reason I played the Grey Knights, is because I was originally attracted to the Inquisition, and
Yeah.
the nature of them. That if you look at all my armies, they all spin off of it. I've got sisters, I've got Grey Knights, I've got Deathwatch,
Yep.
and then
Okay.
I have a whole
All right.
company of Space Marines that would represent soul drinkers, who were basically wiped out because of their heretical,
Yeah. I just
actions.
I just read up about them, the like first two paragraphs, but they were actually declared excommunicado and destroyed pretty much to a man, and then they were reformed during the Indominus era, I guess. But so you and I have traveled a very similar path then, because I started with Grey Knights, and then when the Deathwatch supplement came out, I read it because I borrowed a copy from a friend, and I watched some videos online and stuff, and I just loved how they were another elite army. They only take veterans from every chapter. and then the Brotherhood of Veteran Strat in ninth just is so amazing, and that army is so flexible that it drew me in. So then the joke amongst my friends is, well, you have an Ordo Malleus army in the Grey Knights, you have an Ordo Xenos army in Deathwatch, so you have to buy Sisters. So when Pain and Purity, or Piety and Pain, came out, my buddy who plays Druhkari is like, "You want to go in on that box?" And so now I have some Sisters too. I've only played them twice, but I have about 1,000 points of Sisters. I probably have like 35 or 4,000 points of Deathwatch, and then I have about 3,500 points of Grey Knights, I think.
Yeah, I probably top out close to 7,000 on Grey Knights. I have an enormous amount of models, and then 6 Land Raiders, the special
Wow.
the special 6 last cannon, 8 last cannon, excuse me, the Ultimus Land Raider for a 7th.
What?
And then I have Razorbacks and Rhinos, and of course Dreadnoughts, and of course a couple Dreadknights, and then lots and lots of strikes Grey Knights, and lots of Terminators that can be Terminators or Paladins, and
Right.
and then matching character figures. You know, I probably have the only character figure that is still not from GW is who is it? It's
Oh, wow. You are not kidding. There's a Land Raider Phobos, it looks like.
there's another one. It's called
got
like a
It's got 8 las cannons, right?
yeah.
Is it the Proteus?
No, I think it's with a U. Ultimates or something like that. Oh look. This is where Battlescribe comes in to be a very happy thing.
Yeah, I thought I looked it up on Reddit. Saw a Reddit post, Land Raider Phobos. It definitely has 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Land Raider Terminus Ultra.
That is it.
Okay.
It has 8 las cannons.
Man, that is something else. I've never heard of that. That's fantastic.
It is a definitively wicked construct. I mean, as far as a shooting platform, that is a hugely. I break that out if we ever play like apocalypse games.
Yeah, that's
Then
crazy.
I break out all the Land Raiders, Land Raider Assaults, and Land Raiders, and put them on the board, and generally make somebody's day unhappy, because that's a lot of shots.
Yeah, that is nuts. That's a lot of las cannons. Man, that is definitely like first target. But it probably actually has an invul and all kinds of other stuff that makes it a real nightmare.
It is it can be a beast, and you hide it so that you can at least one shot. You want to hide it so that you can get one round of shooting.
Here, hold on. Let me actually switch to my web browser view real quick, because it is still available. You can buy this right. Oh, it says no longer available, but yeah, look at all those las cannons, and like one storm bolter just as a little bit of plink. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of guns.
That is a lot of extra cannons to go on there, and those little side ones, the single ones in the front.
Yeah,
those are fragile. Those things are fragile as heck.
Oh, really?
Let me tell you. Yeah.
Too bad.
Glue is your friend.
Yeah, or magnets, I guess, because if you stuck one magnet at the top and one at the bottom, that might Oh no, there
Yeah,
isn't. There isn't one at the bottom. You do a strong magnet up top. Maybe that would help.
yeah.
Anyway, and then if it got like popped off, who cares? It'll just snap right on.
Step
I
back up. Yeah.
yeah, I have ended up um magnetizing most of my Deathwatch just because I don't, with the amount of weapon options and stuff available for them, I don't think I could afford to buy all the models that I'd want to play with if I didn't magnetize them.
It's not a bad idea. I have librarians are magnetized. The what are they called? The apothecaries. I have them magnetized just so that I could switch out the weapon load depending on what what game you're playing,
Yeah,
what you're trying to do, and who make it match. So
makes sense.
I've done some magnets on that, and it's not bad. So it's good.
Yeah,
It's not a
those
bad.
Terminators I've been told are pretty easy to magnetize. I haven't actually magnetized any of my Grey Knights, but I put them all together and painted most of them before I even realized how to magnetize anything. So,
I I did when I bought the plastic ones. I did all of the plastic backpacks
yeah,
as
actually,
magnet. I did the backpacks as magnets so that I could switch out the I could switch out the strike squad to make it a an interceptor squad.
yeah, I mean, you just need the backpack. So,
That's it.
man,
That's the only difference. That's
yeah,
the only difference in the backpack. So
I love the Interceptor. Like, speaking of their lore and everything, like they are
oh,
so psychically powerful that they use little warp jump packs. They travel through the warp. No demons can touch them. They don't need a Geller field. Like, it's
every band.
crazy. But then on the tabletop, they're actually not that great, and they're very expensive.
They're very expensive, and they don't hit hard enough to warrant keeping
Yeah.
them. Compared to what a plain strike squad will do, because
Yeah.
it's not the same.
And they have a
Uh,
fallback and shoot and charge strat. It's one strat to do both.
yeah,
Well, all
which would
three
be
actions, I guess. But
which would be great, but
they never live long enough in combat for them to ever fall back and shoot and charge again.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I I I like the purifiers as a straight up elite squad
Yeah.
because it's the same price as a strike squad, but so much more.
Yeah. You lose
Uh,
OBSEC, but yeah, not bad. And it is in elite slot, which is a little bit harder to find than a troop squad slot. But yeah, I agree with you.
and it's not if you can get them close to an enemy, which is what the strategy I use them for, is to be that last second charge, or I gate them across the board and get them as close as get them so that they'll get a charge, and once they get close, their smite is devastating.
It's
The purifiers,
absolutely devastating. Yeah.
yeah,
I
especially if you roll a six, sixes are terrible.
I don't know if you watch Bat Reps, but I have one on my channel where I pilot Grey Knights against my friend playing Blood Angels, and I think every time I got a Purifier Smite off, I think it was a 5, a 6, and a 6.
Yeah, he didn't like you
It
at
was
all.
no, it was I obliterated a Venerable Dreadnought. I obliterated aggressors. It was it was wild. It's all on camera. It all actually happened. But
Yeah, if you don't have
yeah,
pictures, it didn't happen. That's right. So,
exactly.
there you
Well,
go.
let's get into this list because this list is so again, Jason Snagowski said that if you ever want to meet like a true gentleman gamer who also brings an interesting
Very good.
list, it's Rick. So let's get into this list. I'm gonna switch over to it now. So you brought a battalion of Grey Knights, but then you also brought a patrol of Astra Militarum, and I'll get into each um, in depth. And on top of that, you brought two assassins. So you brought a Vindicare for sniping those characters, and then you brought a Calidus, which is the one that makes the enemy's CP use more. In it is that I don't know my
and that,
assassins very well, so
that was exactly it. And so my son plays guard, and he plays, he plays the guard, and he plays it pretty dedicated, and he's got lots and lots of things. But he came up with this list that had conscripts in it and a Lord Commissar, and the Lord Commissar is there just to do nothing more than be the War Master and Warlord, be the Warlord, and be able to control and order and hold an objective with all of a sudden 50, 55, or no, 51 wounds, because 45 for that, and then another 5, so 50 wounds. 50 wounds, right?
yeah. I think the Lord Commissar is 5. Yeah, he might be 4. I can look it up.
He is. I'm looking at it. He is 4. So it's so 49. So 49. Basically 49 wounds on the board for less than 245, or right at 245 points, and you get 49 wounds on the board.
Right.
And so that is just a devastating. That is like, it's literally more models than my typical Grey Knight army would be, all by itself. And it's it's 1/6 of the cost of the army, and it was just a really good point sink to get value on the cost, and have what I could lay down. And I basically, in every game, I owned at least one objective the whole game, because it was hard to get the guard, the conscripts, off the objective. It was just too many models, and they wouldn't go away. Even if you got them down to a couple, I could use stratagems to make them pass, or make them get back in the fight, or so that they wouldn't run. They wouldn't be gone, and they would be recovered, and they would still own the objective.
Right. But they would yeah, I'm just trying to think about like all those blast weapons out there, like I'm playing.
They can be devastating, because they're gonna get max. They get max shots against such a large horde, because it's a horde. So anything over the set number, all of a sudden anything over 10 is getting maximum. They get maximum shots against it. But even then, it's still, can you do enough damage to take both of them off at the same time? Which is straight up 45 wounds. You need 45 wounds to pull them off the board. A little less when you start rolling in the fact that they're going to probably break in morale, and you're going to lose some models as a flea.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about, like, in Deathwatch, I've been playing around with one Proteus kill team that has 3 Cyclone missile launchers in it, and the blast against, that's 12 automatic shots per Terminator, so 36, and this, like, rerolling ones to wound, rerolling ones to hit, hitting on 3s, or maybe even rerolling all hits if my Watchmaster is nearby. Like, they've been pretty good against, like, I bring them because I have a friend that plays Necrons and he loves his warriors, and I hate his warriors.
Yeah,
So I want his
and that's a
warriors
good
to go
idea.
away.
And you
So
kill them completely. Kill them until they're gone. You
yeah.
shoot them until they're gone.
Oop.
Uh, what I generally find is that people get attracted to the bait because all they are is bait.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely no concern if I lose half of the conscripts. I'm like, okay, yes, half of them are dead. Let me take them off the board. Okay. Now I have a pile over here. Yes.
Right.
Half of them are dead. But if you're shooting them, you're not shooting a much more important target, which are the gray knights.
Right.
And so I will gladly put them out there as bait to let people go, I could shoot them. And I'm like, yes, you can, and you should. There you go. Go ahead. Drop that on there.
Sure.
And then the other thing that you mentioned was the other thing that having a patrol and a battalion gave me was the ability to take the assassins based under Agents of Imperium, because I can get one in each
Yep.
detachment.
Yep.
And the synergy between the Calidus with its ability to suck away CP from players, especially in an army that relies on CP to do something. You
Like Grey Knights.
basically like, well, I use it, but it's not critical to my functionality. Whereas I can tell you that it was critical to Jason's game and his Deathwatch. Every CP was used and needed, and he had a plan for it and a use for it as he was using it. Same thing with a couple of the other armies where the CP was really integral to their plans, and if you helped them burn through it early on, they were stuck. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
now what do I do?
Right. I can see
Uh,
that. Yeah. I just I always think about the fact that the way I play Grey Knights, at least the way I play, and maybe it's the wrong way to play, but if I have any CP left, I'll usually start with like 11. So I go to 12 turn 1, I'll get 13 after that Imperium domination. Going into turn 2, I may have 9 or 10 left, and then at the end of turn 3 I should have none left, because
yeah,
I've hopefully gone absolutely Nova turn 2 and 3. I have used Astral Aim, Psychic Onslaught, or not Astral Aim, Cybolt Ammunition, Psychic Onslaught. Maybe bring down the Beast. I'm probably in combat turn 3, so I might want to fight again, or fight on death with my paladins, or
yeah.
like you're just like shoveling out. CP, at least the way I play. Where for my Deathwatch, I find that the way I play, it's more of like a trickle. It's like I need two this turn, I need 2 this turn. I maybe need 3 this turn, but I don't need like 6 in one turn or 7 in one turn, which is how I play my Grey Knights. It's like a deluge of CP expenditure, but that is
And
really cool that you like just on a 4-up, you make them pay 1 more for any
pick one more.
stratagem, and there's no range, right? It's just the
No way.
battlefield for turn 1, the whole battlefield.
So and it's the whole turn. Their turn, my
Yeah,
turn. Whenever they use a stratagem, I go, "Oh, you use a stratagem? Is that a stratagem or is that something else?" And when they
yeah,
go, "It's a stratagem," I go, "It's a 0-cost stratagem." I go, "Well, maybe not."
yeah,
Nope. It's over a 4. Now it's a 1-cost stratagem.
yeah,
What do you mean? Well, that's what it says. It costs you an extra.
yeah.
So if you declare you're going to use it, even if you don't use it, you have to spend the 1. So there you go. And it 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 caused some people to think really hard about, am I going to spend this? Because am I trying to save it and get past? And then the Calidus has a stratagem that allows it to extend the reign of terror, reign of confusion into a second round by paying. You can do it once per battle, and in this kind of format, especially like in a tournament format, round 1 and then you follow it up with a round 2 use of that, and all of a sudden that's 2 rounds of them at the beginning of the game costing them CP that they would have used towards the
Yeah.
end of the game.
That they
That is
didn't
like,
want to spend in the first place. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
gotta I gotta do it.
I mean, two CP. You're like, I can do that. That's an okay cost. And then you're like, but 3, ooh, that's
Yeah.
now we're into where I don't really want to spend 3. But
Yeah.
so how did the Vindicare work out for you then?
I always thought he got his points, because you can snipe, you can headhunt, and then you can take a second shot, spend the CP and take a second shot.
He has like a not terrible anti-vehicle profile, right?
Right. Well,
No,
more
it's not good.
better for him is his stratagem that lets him shoot
The turbo
the turbocharged round.
round, yeah.
Yeah, and it automatically. So if you hit, then it automatically wounds, and it's mortal wounds, and it's D3. So shooting against invulnerable creatures, that's what you do. You just don't even play. You just go, okay, well, let's not give you your invulnerable, and okay, here's D3 mortal wounds on you. Okay. Uh, it's pretty fun to shoot him, hit something, not kill it, and then start rolling to see if it
The
continues to
mortal
wound.
wounds, yeah.
Yeah,
From
all of
headshot,
a sudden, yeah, from headshot, all of a sudden, and now it's just luck of dice, right?
yeah.
Oh, I see. So yes.
So for those of you who maybe can't read this text very well, headshot is if the model loses any wounds from any of the attacks from their pistol or rifle from the assassin, then you roll a d6, and on a 3+, it's an additional mortal wound, and if that happens, you keep rolling at a 4+, and then a 5+, for an additional mortal wound each time, for potential 4 extra mortal wounds if you roll really, really well. It's unlikely. I mean, the 3 is fairly likely. The 4 is 50-50, and then after that,
Yeah.
no. But then if that actually happens, right? Then you can do the stratagem that gives you back a CP, and then you can spend it immediately to shoot again.
To do another shot and pick another do the double kill, and all of a sudden it's like, what?
Yeah. So
I'm now shooting your second character way over
right.
there,
And if
he's got board range at 72 inches. If he can see it, he can shoot it on the way the boards are set up now. So 72 gives him domination over the board.
Yeah.
And it really causes players that know about it to think about where they're going to put their characters. All of a sudden, they're like very, very strategic about where characters are.
Yeah, I interviewed Lou Rollins, and he plays Deathwatch. He had brought, I think he had just placed second in an RTT with his Deathwatch, and he had a list that had a Vindicare and 3 eliminators, and he would use the eliminators to plink off a wound or 2, and then he would follow up with the Vindicare to axe that character. But he was saying that, and so I'm a new player, and I asked him, like, well, how do you feel when he just doesn't move those things into range and you never get to do them, to use them in that way? And he said, I think you're woefully misunderstanding the threat that poses to the other player, is that they know you have assassins out there.
Yep.
They know that they have to either use bodyguard units to protect them, or they need to make a decision to either play the way that they're normally going to play, or they need to hide them and be cagey with their characters, which is going to make their entire army less efficient because they won't be bringing their characters with the units that need to go out there to grab, to assault or whatever, right? So you're forcing them to play in a way that they don't want to play, which is huge.
And that's which is enough of a distraction to some players to ruin a whole game. It's like, damn, I wouldn't normally do this, or they don't have the bubbles. Because the worst thing that happens is they bring them out and they bring the bubble. They bring the bubble machines, and you then pick off the characters, and all of a sudden the things that they rely on for the extra attacks, or
apothecaries
to bring something back, all of a sudden they're going, I can't do that any longer.
Nope.
That's not cool. I'm definitely unhappy. So that's fun. And the double risk is the Vindicator's the threat, and it says if you put a character out there, I'm going to shoot it. And I've used the Vindicator to do that last wound on a monstrous character, or I've gotten it down, but I didn't kill it. And then with it hitting on a 2-up, and I do the turbo penetrator, so all I got to do is hit, and then it's a D3, and then it's mortal. And generally, I'm doing that onto something that will take it off the board. All of a sudden, that is gone. No longer a threat, out of the game. But the Calidus has the ability to come in second, third, later, the deep strike, but it has a special deep strike that gets it in closer. 3 plus D6. And that one allows you to again pick off a target. You can all of a sudden you can, especially the way I play, which is exceedingly aggressive. I'm generally going to bring the Calidus, put it in the backfield, because while you have everything bubbled, you're blocking it for my deep strikes, because most people will. You can't block all of a sudden 4 inches. If you get lucky, you can roll a 1, and it's not a stratagem. It's actually go up. It's actually one of its abilities, innate.
Okay, so
the polymorph is how it can come in onto the board.
That's during deployment, yeah, and then at the end of any of your movement phases, it's D6 plus 3. So,
which can take you out to 9, but it can take you out to 4 also.
Yeah.
So generally, it's somewhere around 7, and if they've been planning, they're blocking out 9s. 7 means all of a sudden I'm generally inside somebody's plan. Like, look, I can set up right here, and it's a single model on a single base.
So math wise, because this is part of the game I'm trying to really wrap my head around, is probabilities. So 7 is about a 50% chance to roll a 7 on 2d6. To put that on in perspective, 9 inches, which is where most deep strikes can come in at, is 50% on between 2 die rolls. So 2d6 rolls, assuming a 1 CP reroll for the charge, gets you a 50% chance. Or this would be a 75% at 7 inches between 2 rolls. So you have a much higher chance of actually getting in there, because you have 2 50% chances instead of 2 25% chances, effectively. Or 2 33% chances.
And that makes it a little bit better, and then you get into the stratagems. So like you're at the bottom with the stratagems,
Yeah.
and uh, I think it's acrobat.
Acrobatic allows them to advance and charge,
Yeah,
and then it's also one harder uh, to hit them. Yeah, I've got it up on my screen right
yeah, I
now.
see it.
So
So so those two together give a lot of good synergy. You know, it's definitely go after something that's critical to the army and try and take it out,
mhm.
and then ruin their day. You know, it's like, okay, yes, we're gonna go do this, and that tends to make everybody go, "That's not fun. I'm not happy with that. Not overly happy with that." So it's good synergy. Um, the other thing that the conscripts do is the general rule about 50% of the army, 50% of the models, 50% of the point cost have to be on the table, and then the other the less than 50% can come in. Well, 46 models placed in a blob gives me 46 models. All of a sudden, that's more than half of my army on the board already in model count.
So you
I did
use the innate deep strike of Grey Knights to put like as much of it as you want into deep strike, but you do have to
right,
pay. But purifiers don't have
right.
teleport strike, and neither does your Vendread, but everything else does. And
So
if you paid for the 10-point upgrade on
actually,
the Dread Knight, which you didn't, but anyway.
so there's four things that I have in the army, actually six, um, that don't have the teleport keyword. So it's the Dread Knight, the Dreadnought, both both Razorbacks,
Oh right,
the
I forgot about the Razorbacks.
the Tech Marine, and then the
Oh, he
Purifiers.
doesn't. A
The
Grey
Tech Marine
Knight,
doesn't have
Grey Knight
tech.
Tech Marine, really? Oh, that's sad.
He doesn't have the keyword.
Sad.
He doesn't he doesn't have the I don't think he has a teleport keyword. I don't think so. But I don't ever deep strike him anyway because I want the Tech Marine to be on the board next to to the little vehicle bubble that I build so
Hmm.
that he can heal
Heal and
something, heal them as needed. If they don't get
yeah.
him killed, I have the ability to pump it back up because that's the relic I take is the the specific Tech Marine relic that allows him to get one extra D3. So he's doing 2 D3
Healing, yeah.
heal, and that can be like really disappointing to the other player. Like, what? I have to I almost killed that, and now it's
Now I
now it's
didn't.
not in it. Now it's not. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not. Yeah, I go, yes, that's a good thing. I'm happy about that. You're
Very
not,
cool.
I am, and we're gonna go with that. Uh, so so the
Yeah.
strategy I use
It's
for
so
this.
crazy that it doesn't have teleport strike, but you're right. The Tech Marine does not. That's really sad.
So you can always use a stratagem to give people things
Yeah.
it's able to do it if you want to do it. But I use it. So I bring in the two uh, Razorbacks, the the Grandmaster and the Dread Knight, the Dreadnought, the Tech Marine, the Purifier Squad, and that gives me. I then break 1,000 points, and then I go over 1,000 points.
Gotcha. And then
So,
everything else goes up in the clouds.
and then everything else can. So I can bring in two strike squads, one Terminator squad, Paladin, and Drago as deep strike, and all of a sudden it's like that's a lot of things coming in by deep strike, and if you don't plan around it, all of a sudden you've got this massive uh 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you have 5 psychic wielding units that just show up 9 inches outside of your lines. And usually that's within and if you're 9 inches away, you're within smite casting range for the Grey Knights. And all of a sudden I drop them down as a group, and I've got 5 smites to do on something.
Yeah.
Which can be a very bad day, but you know, math becomes your enemy with smites, because it starts out as 5, then it goes to 6, 7, 8, and 9 to do them.
And every time that you're doing one of those, it's still another opportunity to perils as well. It feels real bad when you perils on a strike squad and like kill 2 of your dudes just straight up. You're like, is that smite worth 40 points? I don't know. I don't think so.
No, not when it's not when it's a 1-point smite.
Yeah.
So I generally play where I'm using the tides to whatever advantage I can. I will generally, in general, start out in Tides of Shadow, because that's how you protect the army the first couple rounds from shooting, and protect it from shooting. And then Drago can come in, and if you give Drago the right power, he can switch to Tides, and I'll bring him down.
I thought we lost Tides if you souped.
And I think you do. I think you do. So if you souped it, the way it reads, it's interpretable. I don't think I was playing it the right way, but in fairness, I think I got clarified over a couple other games here lately.
Because I was actually gonna ask that, like, how do you deal with losing the Tides? Like that's one of my questions on my list to ask you, because that's such a big buff for us.
So at ACO, my lack of understanding the rules, I didn't lose it. So nobody challenged it, and I didn't realize it, and so I didn't read it that way, because I
see this now.
I originally read it because my detachment is all Grey Knights, so the battalion is all Grey Knights, and the only people that can benefit it is the Grey Knights. The only ones in the detachment actually had any benefit from it, because not anything else from the army gets it. So the guard detachment never benefited from the buff of the Tides. But I think you're right in how you're reading it. The literal review of that would say that you can't do it because you have something else in the army. May
I actually read this? Because it says, it says, if you have a battle-forged army, so this is Masters of the Warp. Psyker units with this ability gain a bonus depending on which tide of the warp is dominant. If you have a Battleforged army, units only benefit from this bonus if every unit from your army has this ability, excluding servitor units. So every unit from your army has this ability, not every unit from the detachment. So which is why I was like, wow, this list, like he's losing Tides to take these conscripts. How's he playing around that?
I can still play around it. It's a little, you lose some of the built-in advantage of Grey Knights by doing that. Because I've now played some games where I didn't use it.
Yeah.
And I still like the offset of the number of models and the number of wounds that the conscripts bring, and the ability to hold objectives. I
Yeah.
I I I
They are a
generally
tar pit.
own yeah, I always generally own one objective because they're sitting on one objective. Those two squads are there right next to between the commissar who buffs them and keeps them on the table. Um uh yeah, it is painful. I originally when I read that it was if it's battle forged and that's how I took it. So it is battle forged, but they aren't all with the ability, right? So that's the other second part, and I kind of missed it. My fault.
No, I mean that's like this game is so complicated, right? So I'm not. Yeah, I'm not asking you that to like drag you through the mud or like wag my finger at you. I was just honestly curious, and you made a mistake, and that's cool. Like that happens. I make them all the time.
At ACO, I didn't realize it, and nobody else did because guess how many Grey Knight players there was out of 250 some odd players? There was like 3. There's like 3 Grey Knight players, so there wasn't a lot of and everybody was generally as unfamiliar. And I've been playing Grey Knights so long that I have rules from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th in my head, and the at least 4 different codexes that have been out with different rules. Yeah. And looking at it, it's just like, which rule was that? Oh, I'm like, I'm two codexes back. I should stop doing that.
So Denise from Australia and I have a very long interview. It's almost 4 hours, or it's over. It's like 4 hours and 11 minutes. It's very dense, but he was talking about souping Deathwatch, and he's like, "Have you thought about bringing Gilliman?" And so we kind of like war gamed that, and I'm like, "But we lose our super doctrine." He said, "Yeah, it's just doctrine. It's just our doctrine like picking." But you still get Xenos Hunter's chapter tactic, and it's like bringing Gilliman actually kind of sounds neat. Also, it's a rad model, and I'm sure my wife wants me to run out right now and buy it.
your wife is probably in the background going, "You should go get that, Rick. Why haven't you done it?"
Okay.
Maybe not.
We're safe for now, but
That's okay.
Yeah. It's a cool model though. I love that model.
And I knew enough to not use tides on the conscripts or anybody else.
Oh man,
the assassins or anything else. So nobody else got the tides.
Sure. I'm just thinking like conscripts, with like. Oh, they always have cover, and they're one harder to hit.
Yes.
It's just like, oh god.
Yeah, that would be a definitive advantage that would be not nice.
Yeah.
Not correct.
Speaking of tides, then, which one did you find yourself in most of the time? Like, I find myself in Convergence a lot, but I am doing. You stay in Shadows?
I start in Shadows, and then I switch to
the Psychic Tide.
To the Psychic Tide.
Yeah.
And escalation. That is and escalation, and that is devastating because I will deep strike 5 psyker units right next to something, and that's 5 smites that all of a sudden now aren't 1 automatic, they're 2 automatic. And if I can do something else that's a psychic like smite like thing, it's doing more, it's still +1. So by chance, if you can get the purifiers close enough to a target,
I
You
don't
charge in, and
I don't think they have.
purifiers has a purifiers have a
Yeah,
D3
it's a D6 smite, but I don't think they have the keyword that actually lets them benefit from escalation. So yeah, it's they must have the rights of banishment ability, and I don't think purifiers do. And it's because of this, is because they don't want yeah, they do not have the rights of banishment ability. So it's for like Terminators, Paladins. It's everybody that can do a 1 wound smite, but like the Paladin Ancient Banner, when you take the Banner of Refining Flame, that is the D6 smite, it straight up says, and you lose the rights of banishment ability, and it's because they don't want armies that are just like spamming, 7 mortal wounds over and over.
which I can understand. So that makes
Yeah.
total sense. But
Still, even without the +1, a D6 smite is insane.
and it's pretty painful. But better is play demons and do smites against them, because all of a sudden now the smite is 3. You do escalate on him.
Yep.
It's now
It's
4.
Yeah.
Now it's 4.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that's a bad day for demons.
Yeah, my buddy who plays Death Guard sent his Mortarion out to be painted a few months ago, and he still doesn't have it back, and I'm actually excited to play against Morty as Grey Knights, because like I know he's gonna be super aggressive with him. He's gonna get him right in my face, and I'm gonna smite him off the board.
And he doesn't have the limiter like some of the other models have the limiter of only
3 wounds per phase.
And so without that, and he's only 9 9 wounds, he can be pulled.
I thought more isn't he a lot of wounds? He's like 18. Yeah. He's 18, and the only reason I know that is because he can't hide behind anything.
That's right.
He's too big to actually get obscuring terrain. He's like too chonk. So, but no, I mean those Nightbringers and stuff from the Necrons, all of the Catans have like they can only take 3 wounds every phase. It's awful. But at least Grey Knights, you have the ability to actually interact with them in all 3 phases, where a lot of armies don't. Like, a lot of armies don't take any Psychers at all, or maybe 1. So now they have to get their Psyker near a Nightbringer to go ahead and smite it. I mean, it's not where you want your powerful Psychers to be, but Grey Knights, it's like, well, I might as well, throw a smite or 2 onto that Nightbringer, because he's in range anyway. He's the closest target anyway. I have to, to target him. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's a great, even if it is 1 wound from 2 units, that's 2 mortal wounds. Like, that's fantastic.
And I didn't play, but I don't think I played Necrons in AOC.
So let's finish up with your list real quick, because I really want to hear about your games and who you played. So, your Tech Marine has the it's called a something conduit, an Aether conduit or something.
Yeah, the Aether conduit, and that's the extra. That's the
healing.
Extra healing, D3 healing. So now he's not a D3 healing Tech Marine. He's a 2 D3 healing Tech Marine.
Yeah,
and so really cool. That's what which makes him stronger, because I have 3 vehicles that he can potentially boost.
I'm really hoping that when our codex comes out, that they also get the what is it, the Master of the Forge, where they're allowed to. Is it Master of the Forge that awakens the machine spirit from a Primaris Tech Marine, or is that?
I don't know.
Yeah, so they Tech Marine, at least the Primaris one I know, can target one vehicle in its command phase, or in the command phase, and it gets +1 to hit on all weapons. Yeah, it's just got it for the Primaris Tech Marine. So that's real. I wonder if the normal one has it, and just if it's just the Grey Knight one that doesn't, because that wouldn't surprise me at all, unfortunately. Yep. So if you take a normal firstborn Tech Marine in Deathwatch, for instance, you get Awaken the Machine Spirits, but if you take it in Grey Knights, you don't. So I'm really hoping they add that to it, because that would make your list even more deadly. You choose your Vendread now, or no, actually, your Vendread wouldn't get anything, but you could like target your Razorback, and it would be hitting on 2s now, not 3s. You really want those las cannons to hit. So,
Yep.
and then it'll do 1 wound or 1 damage. So,
So I brought Grandmaster in a Dread Knight.
yeah.
Uh,
With the Dread Fists, is that so that you get the extra attacks? Is that the only
get the
reason?
extra attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it point wise, the update, the Flamer is free now with it for the Grandmaster. The Flamer's free, and I only take the only point add is the silencer.
Yeah. That's worth it.
And I take the silencer because it's just even though it's only strength 4, no bonus. It's D3 wounds.
Yeah.
So it's 12 attacks, D3 wounds.
Hitting on 2s because it's a Grandmaster, rerolling 1s from itself because it's
rerolling 1s.
Yep.
So he's getting, so generally it's all 12 shots go through, and then it's probability on getting through the armor, because most of the time it's 5 or 6s. So you're getting at least 4, generally you're getting 4 or 5 through out of 12. And then they got to make the save, in which at least generally 2 of those will kind of go through because of the save.
Yeah.
And then it's D3, and it's like, how much is it? Yeah, it's D3. Ooh.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that nuts? I've actually found I like them in the Marine meta of 2 wounds, because in Tide of Convergence, every wound that gets through is a dead Marine, at least.
Yeah.
Because even if you roll a D1, it's gonna get that +1 from Tide of Convergence, and then there goes 1 Marine. So, and 6 shots is just, I love my purgation squads, and I almost always give them silencers, so it's 24 silencer shots, and I usually have 3 of these squads. So many shots. Love them. And yep. You were gonna say? Sorry.
So then we have the Tech Marine, which we've talked about.
Well, Drago. Drago's an absolute menace.
Drago is a beast. He's a beast, and if you're foolish enough to let him get into close combat, he is going to remove things.
Yep. I mean,
strength plus 4 on the sword, -4 on the save,
AP,
and is doing a straight three up wounds.
Mhm.
So and he's doing I
He's
think
he's hitting on twos, re-rolling his own ones still, because we have the old book. So he benefits from his own chapter master re-rolls. Yeah, he's. I mean, I don't know if he's 120 or 190 points good, but he's very good. Um,
I,
it's like,
I like him for the buff. You know, the other nice thing is that so if I bring him in the middle of say that whole say I bring all 5 of those units in together and Drago's there and he's in the center and he's buffing all of them, that's reroll everything
yeah,
for shooting. So,
yep,
you know, all of a sudden that became very annoying.
yeah.
Uh
It's all hits, so it's even melee, right?
yes. Yep.
Yeah,
And then so the strike squads, the Terminator, and then you get into the elites, which is the Paladin, the Purifiers, and I think that's it.
so are
I,
you
if I
bang on 2,000 points? You are bang on 2,000 points.
right on the number.
Yeah. Oh, you
Um,
took an incinerator on one of your purifiers. That's interesting.
it's the instant hit. You know, if you can get them
Yeah.
close enough,
And
it's the
falchions.
instant hit. And falchions, 'cause I like the extra attacks.
Yeah. I was just thinking the way I use my purifiers is it's 6 warding staves so that if they ever get stuck in melee, they have a 3 up. If you get sanctuary on them, they have a 2 up. Then you gate them out of there because let's be honest, purifiers suck in combat. And then the 4 that are left have silencers, so you gate them out of combat like 1 inch away. You smite, and then you shoot the hell out of whatever just charged you on the previous round. Because unfortunately, like there's still 1 wound. There's still only 1 base attack. Like purifiers are supposed to be the elite incorruptible of the most elite Space Marines chapter that has
Yeah.
the Emperor's gene seed, and they have 1 attack.
And more irritating is they're the only Space Marines that aren't Space Marines. You know, they're all in general. The army, the strike squads are all single wounds, so they're very
Yeah,
fragile.
exactly.
They're
Yeah.
very fragile. They're meant to come in and take something and then shoot something, try and kill it, and hopefully not get responded back on. Because if they get responded on, they're generally gone.
Yeah. I agree. Um I
Uh,
was just thinking though, if you changed up the weapon loadout on the purifier, you could probably put a lot of silencers all over the place because you could stick 2 on the paladin squad, you could stick 4 in the purifier squad, and they're only 2 points apiece. It's a lot of shots, but just thoughts, like not, I take it or leave it. Every time I've brought incinerators, people charge me from 9 inches away. You can't use it because it's not 12 inches in range yet. So I look at it and go like, well, there goes 12 points, right? That could have been 6 silencers.
and
So
it's not a bad point. Uh, y- y- my goal was to try and get them as close as possible, get them within the 3-inch range for
mhm,
their flame,
yeah,
and then flame, incinerate, silence, and then stormbolt, and then charge.
yeah, gotcha.
You know,
You're hoping that you've whittled them down so much by then that they, yeah. And
uh,
what is cool, and you obviously don't have one, is a brother captain would actually increase their smite to 6 inches.
the 6.
Yeah. because the way that's worded is it's only the smite power. So, but anyway, it's cool to see falchions though. Like I love them. I hope that
Well, in the next
they're
edition, they
not.
don't cost.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. So
So
I
the next
thought,
points have falchions not costing extra. So
yeah, I was
probably be a lot.
hoping. I was kind of hoping they'd get the lightning claw treatment, but at no extra cost, they're definitely not. Like you'll get the one extra attack, I'm sure, but you won't get the reroll all wounds. But they are D3 damage each. I mean, we'll see in the new codex, but at the moment they are still D3 damage, which is
and
pretty
minus three
nuts.
and minus three, right? Minus three
Is it
on
-3? Yeah, I never use them, but I believe you.
I'm gonna look just to
Yeah,
be
I'm gonna
sure.
look it up too. The -2.
Yeah, minus two D3. So
Yeah,
extra attack, minus two D3, and there you go.
yeah,
And that's what it does.
it's pretty good. Um, so then you have your Terminator squad is 5, okay. Your Paladin squad is 3.
Just
Interesting.
three.
Why 3 man?
Points. That
Okay,
was a point
yeah,
decision over everything else.
that makes sense. Um,
Uh, I typically pair them with Drago.
I mean that would make sense from a lore perspective. Like paladins exist to protect all the grandmasters, so
Yeah,
um,
and so I typically bring them in together because it buffs them and
mhm,
it makes them a harder hitting bubble.
gotcha.
And then all of a sudden, the three because it's three models, they protect Drago from being just sniped.
Yeah. Then Vendred, very classic at the beginning of ninth with the missile launcher and the twin lass. Is he the one with Astral Aim?
That's every time.
Yeah.
Put him at the back of the board, behind something, so he's never seen, and then you astral aim and you hit everything on the board because it's 72
Yeah.
missile, missile, and last cannons, and all of a sudden it's three uh hitting on two D6 weapons. Uh, that's at 48. Everything's at 48, which is generally the way the boards are laid out. It's generally in range of anything and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so being able to hit them and not be hit back, because the only way you get them, the only way you get to them is either get behind me to see them, or you have indirect fire.
Yeah, an indirect fire on a dreadnought is not super well used. All right, that's a
And
pretty classic use of the Vendred there. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
no, you're exactly right. I take it to be a fire base.
Mm-hmm.
A threat of 3d6s onto any target, and you can spread it around. Makes it a threat that if you don't deal with it, it's a constant threat each turn.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some lists lately where some folks take 2 or even 3 Vendreads now, but they stick the multi-melta and the close combat weapon on them. They're because they're a little tanky. They've got that invul. They have the feel no pain. And they have the 2 up, so they're actually pretty good marching up the board after the multi-melta buff. But yeah, this is pretty classic use of one single Vendred for sure. And then you
And then
have oh, go ahead.
go ahead, finish your question.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then you have the 2 Razorbacks as well with the Storm Bolters and more las cannons. So you have a brick in the back, generally. You got your two Razorbacks blasting away with their las cannons. And you got your Tech Marine between them, and then you have the Vendread, like just off on his own, or is he also potentially in that bubble? Or
So it depends on what you're playing and where it's set up, how the board's set up. But in general, I'll put the Vendread, the Tech Marine, and both Razorbacks within 6 inches of each other.
mm-hmm.
And that gives me a shooting block, like you said, a little fire base that I generally try and get. If I'm fortunate enough to get first turn on, well, now you got to deal with 6 las cannons and a missile, which can be unpleasant for most anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's potentially 18 damage. Not likely, but I mean, if you're looking at averages, you're down to 9. Still a lot.
Still a lot. It's a lot to hit something. Right out of the gate, it's enough to take something out. Coupled up. And I think that's a list. I think you've gone through my soup list.
Yeah.
Of models and why I have them. So
a pretty interesting list for sure.
It's definitely not typical. It wasn't typical. It wasn't atypical. It isn't just Grey Knights this time. It's got the conscripts. But I tell you, the conscripts are well worth having, just for the sheer number of ability to hold a spot and sit on it and generally not be taken off during the game.
And you never missed the extra 2 CP from the added patrol detachment or anything?
I didn't, because I don't play good enough to actually take advantage of all of the CP and the stratagems. I generally play with cards, and I'm going, and which stratagem am I going to use? What am I doing right now? Okay, let me look it up.
Man.
And I'm generally going through all the cards, going, which one? Oh, it's this one. Yes, pull that one out. I want to do this one.
Yeah,
when
I
can
definitely.
I do it?
Oh man, I definitely feel that. I had to 3D print little markers for all of my psychic powers to remember what powers are on what units, because like I'll forget that I cast armored resilience on my squad of Terminators, and I would really like to remember that they are one harder to wound now.
Yes.
Yes. It's really good to know that, but I'll forget all the time. So I feel you. Like those cards are actually very helpful.
So I took card sleeves, and I took the book. I took the Ritual of the Dam. I took the Ritual of the Dam and scanned in and then printed off all of the powers, all of the spells, and then I cut them out and put them in card sleeves. So they're like little cards.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
To go along with the other cards. And then
wait, isn't that in the card deck if you buy the Grey Knight? Don't remember it. Actually.
It's not off of the original card deck because it didn't have Ritual.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
So it didn't have anything from Ritual. Ritual came out afterwards.
Yeah.
So the original card deck has all the stratagems that are Grey Knights out of the codex, all of the Sanctum psychic spells out of the codex, but then Ritual gave you the chaplain buff, I like my chaplain, the tides buff, and then it gave you the new spell, the whole new lore of spells that were there.
The Dominus Discipline?
The Dominus Discipline.
Yeah, which is only characters. Speaking of which, so you have 6 characters in this list. Did you?
making it a very. So if I played somebody that didn't have any psychers, I
Oh,
knew the two,
Abhor the Witch.
I,
Yeah,
I knew the two things that they were going to take: abhor the witch and assassinate.
yeah.
Because if
I
you didn't, you were
really, I really hate Abhor the Witch. Like
it.
it is seriously like it is worthless against every other army in the game, and it is amazing against Grey Knights and Thousand Suns. Because
Yes,
every other army in the game is gonna take one, maybe two psychers, usually none. Right? Like we'll
yes,
probably see some pretty crazy orc stuff here with all their new like casters soon, but it'll eventually even out probably down to where you're gonna take one, maybe two. But against Grey Knights, against Thousand Suns, man, it's just like it is punishingly good. You have to have a plan for I am going to be down 15 points. And that is like that's absolutely brutal. Like I don't want to be like crying, right? Because I know that these things change, but like especially against Druhkari, against Admech, um, they don't have psychers. They're always gonna take Abhor the Witch against you.
they are.
Every time. And so not only are they a better codex than you are right now, they are already up 15 points over you. And that
And
is a steep hill to climb.
uh, uh, the and that's really that draws into like my first game. So my first game was against the meta, was against Dakari. My
Yeah.
first game was against a Dakari player who was really good. Kenny was very well versed on it, very good, and he scored 90 points.
Hmm. But
He
you
scored he
also
scored
scored 90 points, right?
which he didn't expect. He didn't expect me to counter punch the way I did. Because he basically gave up the whole backfield. And I took stratagems, because that's what I did. I took line breaker, pure surveil, and while we stand we fight. And two of those, line breaker and pure surveil, were specifically taken to where I would be in his backfield and score points.
Right. And then
Uh,
pierce the veil, yeah. I mean, and then you grab his back two. You have
which
all those units back there for line breaker, and then now you're doing pierce the veil with with your one of your characters, and then yeah.
and so that got me Linebreaker and Pure Surveil and United We Stand, United We Fight, and the fact that um, the army is designed to be a counterstrike. So because I take so much of it off, I don't bring it in until second or third turn, depending on the game. Generally, it's second. I'll deep strike those 5 units all together, and I'll bring them in. It allows me to get onto objectives that normally are, you know, nobody's generally on, and it also gives me the ability to mess with their backfield. If they open it, all of a sudden I'm back there.
Yeah.
I'm in the back of the board, and Druhkari is very good about coming across the board, but now they got to go back across the board again, and
Mm-hmm.
they got to pick what do they want to score points on, right? Because you want to hold objectives. Because this game, the way the game is right now, it's really about objective holding, and so I generally will score hold one, hold two, hold more, uh, third, fourth, and fifth round, or at least two of those three. Which, if I'm just scoring 5 each other ones, I at least max out the primary.
Right. That's a great point.
And then it's choosing the right secondaries against the right army, and which I suck at.
Me too, buddy.
I am just not good at analyzing the other army and going, what should I take in this particular point? Because I'm stuck on let's do the same thing even though it doesn't work, and which I discovered. Uh, I, I I typically will take line breaker, and now that it's switched, it's a much better. So now it's not called line breaker; it's called something else in the new update.
That's a good point. 2021. There we 2021. Go. Everybody ran off.
2021.
Did they change it? Behind enemy lines.
Behind enemy lines.
So now it's score 2 victory points at the end of your turn if one unit from your army, excluding aircraft, is wholly within your opponent's deployment zone, and you score 2 points at the end of your turn instead of 2 or more are wholly within your opponent's deployment zone. Interesting.
So it's 2 or 4. So if you can get 2 units in their deployment zone, now it's 4 points a turn.
Yeah.
But if you get 1, it's now at least 2. So it's now 2 or 4. I generally will Calidus into the backfield and then deep strike enough units to get 4 and now make you pull me out of your backfield. So if you leave me a space, if you don't cover it, if you're not blocking your deployment zone, I'm gonna deep strike something back there, and thereby gain 4 points a turn.
What was your plan if people screened you out well? Like if they brought infiltrators and all that?
I didn't have a really good plan. I lost those games.
Okay.
Hence the 3 losses.
Gotcha.
The 3 losses were specifically because I played 2 armies that did very good blocking. So 2 out of the 3 losses were specifically because I couldn't get into the backfield. The Space Wolves, the last game was Space Wolves, and he brought the intercessor squads with the 12-inch bubble, right?
Infiltrators, but yeah.
Infiltrators with a 12-inch bubble. He brought 2 squads of those, put them about 12 inches in on each side because he's doing short side and long deployment zone. Short side, so it's only 4 feet across to begin with, or less than. You put both of those, one on one side at about 12 inches and the other on the other side at about 12 inches, and now there's no place that you can come in because their rule of 12 eliminates your ability to get close at all.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm playing a Deathwatch army. I have all Friday off, and a bunch of friends and I are going to play for the whole day. We're planning on 3 to 4 games if we can. The Deathwatch list I am bringing has 6 infiltrators and 4 eliminators and a Spectre's kill team, which the way the Deathwatch works, I can combat squad them. So 1 infiltrator is with the eliminators so that they also get the Omni Scrambler. So I will have 10 units just completely screening out my backfield, I hope, or most of it. So like, if you want to bring down a character, I'm sure you could find room for that, but then why would you do that? So anyway,
it was secondaries. I've definitively come to the realization. Well, first off, I didn't play enough games last year to actually understand how Ninth runs.
Yeah, most of us didn't.
So my first real experience playing Grey Knights in Ninth was truly at Atlantic City, and that's 6 games, and it's learned by drowning, right?
Yeah.
You go to the deep end, you jump into the deep end, and now you wade. Can you stay above the water? And it was a really interesting thing. It was a really interesting way to learn. And then I followed that up by some another tournament the week I came back, and I got better. So the more games I play, the better I'm getting, and the more I understand the army and how it works.
Yep.
Like you talked about the fact that it's soup, it nerfs uh
Tides.
tides.
Yeah.
So now you got to play around that. You got to specifically realize that you're not going to use tides. So if you're going to keep that, that's what you're going to do. You're gonna plan around it. And okay, so what can I do instead? But I'm gonna figure it out. So the first game was against Druhkari, and he played hard, and he came, immediately came across the board with most of his army in raider ships, and woe unto you and their immolators that melt everything, because they're like doing instant, it's instant hit and wounds and melt away your army.
Eradicators?
On the Druhkari, it was
Oh yeah, no, that's right. It was the it was the dark technomancers with the liquefier guns. Yeah, that thankfully has been nerfed. The AECO was the last event where they got to actually play with those, because they were completely broken. They were
and as somebody that faced them, and I will tell you, they were completely broken.
yeah, no, I have played against them one time, and it was, I don't think I left my deployment I did not get very far out of my deployment zone before I got completely annihilated as my sister's army against it, because it's just it was so punishing.
And to shoot from protective cover, so to shoot from the vehicle,
yeah,
and get all the shots, and you just wipe everything off the board was pretty brutal.
Yep.
So I kind of castled. I took the army, and the way the board was set up, I castled. I kind of put everything in the backfield and made them have to come across the board to do it. At the same time, I took advantage of the block of Razorbacks and the Dreadnought, and was able to at least pick off one or two raiders a turn.
Well, that's good.
And every time you kill a raider, all of a sudden things pour out of it.
Yep.
Things are pouring out of raiders every time. All of a sudden, oh look, there's something's in that vehicle. Yes, there is. But I don't think what he realized playing the army was I was going to give up. I'm wanting him to come across the board, because then he gave up the backfield. Right. And I jumped in behind him, and then blew away things whatever he left in the backfield. I blew those off, and then basically traded sides of the table with him. And he still was stuck trying to pull my blob of guard off the board, because it's just so many wounds.
Yeah, there's just so many targets that even with his ridiculous 3 damage minus 3 AP or whatever, you're still only gonna kill one model, right? So
that's right. It kills one conscript.
Yeah.
Okay, one conscript. Let me do that 45 times.
Yeah.
Because now it's now 45 times to get me off this objective, and that just became painful. That turned into a painful experience, and we both racked up points. So it ended up being a tie of 90-90 for that first game, and that was I thought I did well. I was encouraged. I was like, hey, look, I played Druhkari, and it's the meta, and I didn't get myself completely destroyed.
Yeah.
I didn't I scored as I gave as good as I got, right?
Yeah,
That's basically
that's what a
how that,
draw is for sure.
you know. I gave as good as I got, so that was not bad. Um,
So then,
uh,
so then you wind up for round 2 against whom?
Dale and his Adaptus Sororitas, the sisters.
Right.
So so ironically, you don't ever want to start the game and walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, I just played my last game and we got to round 2." Because Dale walked up and that's how he introduced himself. And I went, "Dale, that's a great thing. I'm gonna go find a chess clock."
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I walked off and I found a chess clock and I came back because I play slow anyway because I'm playing every single round, right?
Yeah,
Every
you're
single
playing every
phase,
phase.
every
Yep.
single while. So I already know I'm slow and I already know that I get but it really isn't me. It's everybody reacting to me. So our rounds will take a long time to get through because I'm shooting so much, you're saving so much, and etc. But a chess clock at least divides out the time between everybody. So I got the chess clock. We got to end of round 3 and Dale ran out of time and I had 14 minutes.
So the way that works is you then just keep playing for 14 minutes? I don't know. I've never been to a
So I
tournament
got
ever.
so once you run out of time, the only thing the person that ran out of time can do is response 2. So they can do saves and they can do attacks back, right? So if you're attacking them, they can get attacked back. But that's all they can do. So they can't do any more movement. They can't do any more casting. They can't do any strategy. They can't do stratagems that aren't in response to something else that you're doing.
Wow.
And he left himself set up such a way that all I did is do round 4 and move and take all the objectives, and
Uh,
round 5 and take him off the objectives at the same time. So I'm shooting him, killing him. I am psychic him and then shooting him and then pulling things off and not engaging him, so he can't get responses back. And the only thing he can do is do saving throws. And
Huh.
that swung the game. It swung it back into my favor and it ended up like 71-42. But he basically gave me two rounds because he ran out of time.
Wow. That's
But
actually very, very interesting. I'm gonna have to buy a chess clock and practice.
and you gotta get good at your actions versus their actions. So if it's my turn and I'm doing something, then that's all my time. But the minute you start rolling savings, I click your side, and now your saving throws are on you, on your
Mhm.
time. Well, I'm shooting you a lot, which is causing you to do a lot of saves. That's your time, not my time. And then it comes back
My wife ordered pizza, and Ivar needs to go bark at the delivery guy.
because that's what we do.
That's what he does for sure. Yeah.
Uh,
He takes his job very, very seriously, and it is to bark at random people walking past our house.
and that I've got the same little dog that is like all about being the protected. So it's a good thing. Um, Third round at ACO was Deathwatch and Jason, and he was too kind, and he was a great. He was without a doubt the best match I had at the event. Super knowledgeable. Talk about an individual that knows the game and knows the rules, and is got a plan for everything and is very analytical. Uh, I figured out he was a math. He's a math teacher, and
He
you
is,
can
yes.
tell it. You can tell it in everything he's doing because it's all about the calculations. It's all
Yep.
about what's the probability of doing this, and just had a beautifully painted army. Uh, he had the not the dreadnought, but the contemptors, I think,
Hmm.
with the Volkrite. cannons, and he had 2 of those, and those are absolutely devastating.
Insane.
I mean, just
Yeah. I'm waiting for them to
insanely-
get nerfed, honestly, because they're so good.
that they are, luckily they're GW models, and they're
They're
Forge World.
Forge World,
Forge
yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually very easy to find the body. The body is only like $60, which I know is actually a lot. But my point is, the guns on their website, those like Volkite guns, are like
always out of stock.
are like $18 a piece on the web store, but you can't find them anywhere. And I found one on eBay like 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it was like 38 or $40 for one gun.
Yeah. And you want 2, because
You gotta have 2.
You want 2.
Yeah.
You want to dual shot that thing so
Yeah.
that it's doing maximum amounts of capacious data and damage and etc.
Yeah. And then it's also you usually want 2 of these things.
Yeah.
And
he ran them in pairs, and he ran it with a watch and a psyker as a little bubble. He ran it as a little cell.
Yeah.
And just owned the board. He played very well. He knew what secondaries to do and how to play them, and he knew, most importantly, he knew how to deny me secondaries.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a part of the game that I'm still really learning, which is where like it's not so much like, it's not just you need a plan to do what you want to do. You need a plan to stop the enemy from doing what they want to do. So, like, for instance, if you take Linebreaker against me, I know I need to protect my deployment zone more than I might usually, right? Because you want to get to my deployment zone, and I need to stop you from being there. Because, every point I stop you from getting, and every point I get, that's actually a 2-point lead, right? That's so... I mean, basic math, yeah. Even I can do basic math sometimes, so...
I can only do basic math. So if you get beyond basic math, I'm not doing it. But Jason's strength was the fact that he could do advanced math, and he was doing it in his head. And
he actually... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What I'm gonna finish out with was what made the match against Jason so good was his desire to share his knowledge and to help me. He wasn't just pointing out what I was doing wrong, but he was telling me the strategy behind why to do it. And then we followed that up with a dinner and a drink.
Yeah.
That evening.
He liked you, man.
And
he really did.
Well, that was kind of him to like me. It was very kind of him. But I found him to be educational and willing to share his information and share his knowledge, his like of the game, and his ability of playing the game. He was like all about sharing it, and that's a good player. That's the difference between somebody that's looking to crush you and just win, and not have any understanding or compassion. Because when you're winning, somebody is losing, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I've been on tilt in a few games. I've been like on the back foot and invested and all that stuff, but like if I can walk away and I learned something, I'm considering that a win, right? Like,
and so even though I got my head handed to me, it was a good game because I learned right. From him. I learned how he played, and I learned how he came up with his strategy, right? He was definitively focused on secondaries and controlling the board, and denying me my secondaries. So he was all about scoring his and at the same time denying mine.
Yeah. Well,
and
if I may awesome. Give you a little knowledge tidbit. I don't know if this came up during your lunch or your dinner or not, but You know who Brad Chester is, right?
Yeah.
Well, he introduced Brad to the game.
Yeah. Oh no. I
Yeah,
watched Brad play. I watched Brad. I watched Brad. On Sunday play the last two games, fabulous games and a great player. And he's just he's just that all that and then some.
yeah.
Very well deserved winning the tournament.
Well, spoilers. I'm hoping to get Brad on this show, so we'll see.
Oh,
But
he's the
yeah, I've always liked when I've watched or listened to interviews with him. He seems very very likable. He seems very knowledgeable, and he seems like he really leans in to the whole old man Brad thing. So
yeah.
which I find endearing in a way. But they're actually like neighbors. They live only a few blocks from one another.
Well, that's gotta when you're playing with that level of a player consistently, it's gonna improve your game.
Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic.
You're gonna get better. You're gonna get better by getting your head handed to you multiple times. That when you play somebody like me that's not in the same category, not even in the same solar system, all of a sudden it's not as hard of a game.
Yeah, but then you can take it to be a learning opportunity too, or a teaching opportunity.
And I appreciate that because I think
Yeah,
this game is so much more than just what did he do? He taught me a thought of something that I hadn't thought about was that in 40K, especially on the competitive gaming circuit, there's two type of players. There are gamers, and then there are hobbyists. And the difference is gamers are competitive and they're looking to win, and they're in it for the benefit of the win, of everything that goes along with it, promoting their brand, promoting their sponsorship, and everything that goes along with it. Hobbyists, on the other hand, are in there for the game, to play the game, and to get the interaction of the game. And it's not necessarily, although I want to win as much as anybody. No,
sure.
probably more than most people because I'm very competitive. So I want to win, but I don't think I'm a gamer. I think I'm more of a hobbyist. I like the models. I like playing the lore. I don't play, you know, a gamer's going to always play one of the competitive armies.
I
Is
mean,
going to have it.
I think that's a little ingenuous to just go into two different types, right? Because like when you're a
But
gamer,
he was,
like
but Jason was really analytical about it, and he saw it in that
yeah,
in that light. I could see his point when he brought it up. But that you make a good point that maybe there's grays in the middle.
yeah, my point was like, I would probably put myself more towards that gamer territory. I want to understand the meta. Um, you know, I I like the game. I want to know how the armies play. I want to keep up with the competitive scene. I want to have these interviews and learn from more experienced players. But like on the table, if I'm playing with somebody less experienced with me, I will take extra time to teach them the game. I will say like, I'll remind them like, hey, I have these eliminators that can kill your
So you
characters. You
did.
might want to move them over there another 2 inches so I can't see them. I don't play gotcha hammer. I try to teach, and even though I'm not very experienced, I've already run into numerous people who are very nice, who are less experienced than I am. And so I hope that as I am being taught by folks more experienced than I am, and I improve in my skill level, that I can go ahead and pass those lessons on to folks, so that in a year, if I meet someone that's at my current skill level, I'll be able to also, help them. Because for everybody that gets better, the games get better, the meta gets better, and the whole game benefits when everybody's helping everyone else. If you're just walking up playing Gotcha Hammer, and that's like middle ground, like that's not even cheating. Like, don't even get me on like, quick dice grabs and stuff. But like if you're just going in there to crush folks, like, I mean, that's great, I guess, but you're playing the game the way you want to, and that's fine, but like it's not the way I want to, and it's not the way that I think benefits the game the most. So
and it was interesting having the conversation with Jason, and he brought up that you could classify players into this category or that category, because I never thought about it that way. I mean, I always knew there's competitive. I always know that there are competitive players, and there are players that are making a living off of playing, right? That
Sure.
they are literally that good. They stay engaged. They stay, they are always consistently playing the meta, and they're always consistently winning because they know more about the game than everybody else.
Yeah.
And they are taking advantage of that. Watching two of those players play against each other is an interesting experience to see it.
I bet.
Because they're really good about knowing their own army, but they're equally good at knowing the other person's army, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's where a lot of my knowledge falls through. Is like, I know the armies I play very well. I know the armies I play against, but I only really play against
a small.
like orcs, necrons, death guard, and well, my buddy Reed has like 10 armies, so whichever one he's feeling like playing that day. But that's it. I have never played against guard. I've played only once against Tau, only once against Alpha Legion. Like I have entire armies I've never played against at all. Like, I've never played against sisters even once. And while I have played 2 1,000 point games of sisters, I don't really know that army very well either. Like, even from an I play it, like, I don't know their stratagems. I don't know all of the little chapter sisterhoods, or now orders, right? Like, I don't even know that much. So there, yeah, I've never played against knights. Like, there are entire armies I've never even seen on a tabletop.
And so the bigger events throw there's usually a smattering of everything there, because somebody's going to bring something. Somebody's going to bring something odd.
Yeah.
There's going to be a dominant meta that people are going to bring. Space Marines being in that group almost always, because some kind of Space Marine army is generally part of the meta. Seeing Richard Siegler play Tau, though, was an amazing game to watch. Watch him play and how he played.
Yeah, he knows what he was doing too. He built a very anti-meta list. That targeted Druhkari, and punished them very, very greatly. So.
Yeah. So the third game I won. So that was, third game I lost against Jason, because he just controlled the game, controlled the objectives, controlled the secondaries, and it ended up scoring out to like 86-44. So it was a resounding win for Jason, and yay, Jason. And well deserved. He earned the win, right?
Yeah.
I did things that were surprising to him, and he was like, "Damn, how do I deal with that?" It wasn't enough, and I didn't play the secondaries well enough to be challenging, and I got that. Fourth game was against Dark Angel, so it was the typical Space Marine army. Uh, Dark Angels, very strong, good player. Uh, uh, it went back and forth, and it was a high scoring game on both sides. I got a little
Yeah,
bit better.
you
On
got 83 points that game.
Yeah, 83 to 91. So it wasn't completely one sided.
Yeah.
I was playing respectively, but again, trend here, board control and secondaries, those are a thing. You
Yeah.
got to know how to play. Um, fifth game, I was like that. Somebody gave me that game, just as a grace, because I literally played a chaos demon army that only had demons.
Wow.
Literally only had demons on the he had nothing else but demons. And he was playing Grey Knights. And while I was learning, from him as we were playing, uh he had three primary threats, which was he played both Primarchs. He played Magnus
Ooh.
and Matari. So he played
Mortarian.
Matari. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he played Death Guard and Thousand Suns Primarchs. And then just because that wasn't enough big ugly demons on the board, he brought a Demon Prince of Tinch also. Zeech.
Yeah. Zeech. Yeah.
Zeech. He brought a Demon Prince of Zeech onto the board.
That's common.
So,
What do they call that? That's like a it's like a triple threat list or something is what they
yeah.
call it. It's something like that. It's 3 giant monsters. But everything in it is a demon, man. Like, you were probably having a great time.
Well, the score will tell you it was a tight match, but being able to take off all 3 demons is very disruptive to his game.
Yeah.
So killing the 2 Primarchs, he wasn't expecting that I'd be able to do that as effectively as I did.
Yeah, Magnus has a reputation for staying around and then killing everything in his own psychic phase, because I think he can smite 3 times.
Oh yeah,
or something if he wants. Like, yeah.
He's but what he didn't expect was me shutting his psychic phase down at the same time. I'm shutting his psychic phase down, and he doesn't have enough to shut all of mine down.
Right.
Although he's getting 3, dispels with Magnus by himself, he just didn't have enough to completely shut me down. And you don't want smites going off on demons, because all of a sudden they're 3 damage each, and 4 if you got if you switch tides. If you're into escalation, that's 4 damage each.
Wow. Yeah.
And so
I know it's so good.
And what do they have? He's got like 18 wounds, doesn't he?
He has 18 wounds. I've got him up right now.
Yeah, he's rightly so a monster.
Yeah, he's got, so he can smite D6 smite, or 2 D6 if he gets a super smite.
Yeah.
He adds a bonus to his damage table to whatever his psychic or deny test is. So when he's alive, he's got a +2 at least. He probably gets a +1 just from being him in the first place, so he's already at +3 to cast or deny. I mean, even +2 is crazy good. He can do 3 powers a phase and deny 3 a phase.
Yep. He's a super psyker.
And then he knows his warlord trait is he knows 1 more power, so he can know 4 cast 3. Yeah, he's very good. And then there's all of the stratagems that I just don't even know that much. But he can just summon demons, which cost points if I remember
Yeah,
right.
because it's the reserve rule. You have to a replacement rule.
Right.
You have to actually plan that out to bring them in. Um, no. It's probably a very dangerous list to against any other army but Grey Knights.
Yeah. And again, like that's another army I've never fought before. Is I've never fought just pure chaos. I've only
Yeah.
fought
So that was
Death
fun. It
Guard
was fun
and
to
Alpha
play.
Legion.
So that was fun to play. That ended up being 55-47. But and something I learned playing him is uh uh he's got chaos has got or demons have got a special rule against Grey Knights
Yes,
that
it's
if a Grey Knight unit destroyed a demon unit on a like 4+,
for 2
it
CP.
you can bring back the whole unit. And I wasn't strategic enough to realize that I didn't want to kill his demon, his Prince of Zeech, and let him bring it back because that's what he
Yeah.
did.
So
Yeah, that's ugly.
so one of the things you could do in your list, and it would require you to really set it up, but if your Grey Knights bring him down to say 1 wound, and then your conscripts kill him.
Then he doesn't come back.
Exactly, because a Grey Knight unit did not kill him.
Kill him.
Also, if you can set it up so you can kill 2 demon units in 1 phase, it's per phase, by the way.
And
Yeah.
he can only bring one.
But if you kill 1 in the psychic phase, 1 in the shooting phase, and 1 in the fight phase, he could actually spend 6 CP and bring it back 3 times in 1 turn.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
it's an incredible command point sync, but it's theoretically possible.
Yeah, and he did it twice in the game. He brought back 2 complete units in the game, and that can be really unsettling.
Yeah. I mean,
The good thing was he couldn't bring back the Primarchs because they're named characters, and you're not allowed to do it on named characters.
it's a demon prince.
Oh, it was a good point sync.
Demon Prince of Zeech is 150 points, 8 wounds. It's not that bad. You can pop that thing, no problem. That's only 2 smites going through. That's not any of your shooting or anything.
Close, but again, you got to be close enough because
Yeah.
Grey Knights don't get the long smite. Don't
Yeah.
and don't get the extra thing.
If they if they screen well, then yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. But even so, like you got enough smites that if they screen with some shitty demons, you can kill them, and then maybe get 1 smite off, and then you can finish him off in in shooting, because 8 wounds is not. I mean, that's as much as an invader ATV has. Obviously, this guy's got, he's much tougher, but
and he's a big psychic risk because they're doing him and Magnus together are tag teaming different powers that play off each other. So that's interesting to watch. Because buffing himself and at the same time bringing your units down or just outright killing things is pretty effective.
Yeah. I mean, so that's pretty much a dream pairing for you. How'd you do round 6?
55-47. So once he lost the 3 big bad demons.
Oh, I see.
Off
We're still
board. So he lost the 3 big bad demons, and that really was the switch of the game. Because then I could just I ended up holding a lot more, and again, I probably should have scored better, but again, I was terrible at picking secondaries.
Well, you still won. So what about your last one, round 6?
Space Wolves, and
Oh, that's right. Space Wolves with the infiltrators.
yeah, and it was the last game at the end of the tournament. At the end of the tournament, uh, it wasn't my funnest game, but you know, I could have won that game had I been paying better attention, and I needed to do two things. One, have a clock, and the other was score the game myself, because I wasn't actually scoring it, and and it gave me a disadvantage because I didn't realize where the points were and what was going on in the game, and it was okay. He won. He won. It's good. 77-43. So it was a resounding, win. And I felt it was kind of like, if you ever read the Emperor's Gift, that's how that kind of felt. Space Wars were spanking on the Grey Knights.
Yeah, I'm actually. I think I just downloaded it. I'm gonna start reading that.
So
Now.
so
I just got it on my Kindle.
So it makes me sit there and relate it to a book I like, and go, yeah, getting smacked pretty hard. I couldn't get into the backfield, and I couldn't get control in the backfield. I couldn't get close. Whenever I even tried, he had stratagems that allowed him to target me as I came down and just wipe things off.
Yeah.
Just
Auspex scan is a Space Marine stratagem. Yeah, 12 inches, they can just shoot.
And just that's not a good thing.
Yeah,
that's not a good thing.
Admex got that too, by the way. But the other thing is they have like their entire army can heroically intervene.
Yes.
So like you think you're being cheeky and you're gonna charge between 2 units or whatever, and then guess what? They're all up in your grill for free at the end of your fight phase, and you're like, or at the end of your charge phase, and you are just left dumbfounded because you're like, how did all these Space Wolves get here? Oh my god.
which are hitting amazingly hard and doing things. What I don't think he was expecting was to lose his battle star. He had a wolf pack battle star that came across the board really quick.
Oh yeah, I don't know what it is. I've never played against Space Wolves. The only thing I know about Space Wolves is that when I was looking at a first army, they were in the running for a bit.
They're another unique army, with its own codex and their own way to play them. He definitely what wasn't good was he didn't get his charge, because he's an army that can come across the board on first turn. The Space Wolf army on the Wolves can make it across the board on first turn and charge you, but you got to make the charge. You can't fail it twice. And failing it twice leaves you standing out there at the mercy of everybody else shooting you.
Yeah.
So that was, he did a much better job of controlling the board and controlling the objectives and playing the secondaries. So that's why it was his win. I learned playing it, so that was a good thing. I mean, I learned a little about his army and how to play on it against it. Some things I wouldn't have done that I did. Now that I know, don't do that. Don't deep strike where he's going to be able to shoot you, because that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's a very common Auspex scan. I just don't know. What did you drop down next to? Like 5 infiltrator shooting at you isn't that bad.
So I dropped the Calidus assassin, and she didn't survive.
One,
No.
yeah, no. One target would not, no.
Yep, she didn't survive. Hit the ground, and out of cycle, out of normal sequence, he's shooting, and there's no more model.
Yep.
So that was it. Overall, Reese and company that did the ACO ran an excellent game. The venue was wonderful. Big rooms, big space. Everybody felt comfortable because they spread it out as well as they did. So it took took some of the concerns about social distancing and having space and following CDC guidelines. That was all evident in how they had everything set up and done. And then it felt like a really big room because it was like, hugely tall ceilings and such a big space. It was very open. You didn't feel confined at all.
How far was your drive, or did you fly?
I flew. I flew
That's a
there.
16-hour drive.
Yeah, no.
I've done Vegas to Portland one time because my brother bought a car down there, and we did that in one 18-hour stretch. But it's like an hour and a half flight. Like, once you're in the air, it is an hour and a half to fly there. So you flew, it was about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to fly there.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I actually flew into Pennsylvania and then drove over, and that wasn't too bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
because 16-hour drive. Woo!
And more importantly, the reason I'm doing these things is so that my son, Chris, who you see on the played guard.
Chris played guard. Here, I'll bring him up real quick.
And he didn't do too bad playing guard. I mean, I think he 50-50. I think he's 3-3.
Let me check. Let me pull it up. Oop, nope, we want to go here. So you're here at 163rd place, but Chris is at 169th, and he went 4-2.
So he scored really, really high because he's only 2 wins and 4 losses, and yet he's at the top of that group. So he scored well, but guard's not very competitive right now in the meta.
No, they aren't, which is unfortunate because that's a cool army.
And he's pretty good at playing it. So, good matches, bad matches. It's about being there, and so I like to go gaming and go play the game, go to the conventions, because I get to spend a long weekend with Chris, and it's us. It's I'm not having to actually it's not all the family. It's just me and Chris for locked in for 3 days, and that's good to do. Occasionally that's good to do. I do it a couple times a year because we'll go to a couple conventions, at least a couple in a year, and that's not a bad thing. I enjoyed. It's worth my time to go do it with him.
I wish my dad was at all interested, but he's a very smart man. But this kind of thing would really try his patience, and there's too many little things to remember. He's more of a Monopoly kind of guy for, what I mean?
And for me, I've always been attracted to the fantasy and the science fiction aspect of the game. I'm completely to blame for everybody in the family, either liking Star Trek or Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or
Star
all of
Wars,
those
100%.
all of those different genres, uh, because I introduced everybody to them because I'm such a nerd. I know it. I own it. Uh, I'm probably more of a geek than a nerd. In that kind of sense, but I'm
Okay,
more.
okay, all right. This is gonna be a bit of a tangent. What is the difference, in your opinion, between a geek and a nerd?
Uh, Geek is IT based and kind of science fiction, much more the science fiction side of it, much more IT. They like to play and use technology,
Hmm.
and a nerd is and I say this with all the love in my heart for all of the nerds that I know and I grew up with. They
You're
are
talking to a nerd. Watch out.
yeah, they are D&D hardcore D&D.
Hmm.
Uh, the
Go ahead.
the typical picture. And I literally grew up being a nerd because technology wasn't around. I didn't become a geek until technology actually took off, and I've grown with it over the years. So that's how I transitioned. Um, but I started out playing D&D. My best friends from high school, which are still my friends today, are all people I played D&D with for 4 years in high school.
Yeah,
Yep.
I still have some friends from high school. They occasionally play D&D with me, but I have a weekly group on Tuesdays. I just, we do our own. It's morphed now. It's now folks I've met doing other stuff. One of them actually plays Warhammer, so
Yeah, there you
but
go.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my definition of the difference between a nerd and a geek is the IT aspect of it. And
You're
I would have thought
def
you would have been I thought, with your background and what you do, you would have been a little bit more of a geek than a nerd.
I was gonna say your definition just means it's me, like they're both me, right?
Yeah.
Like, so my mother was a professional bowler when I was growing up as a young kid. And but in college she played like the old Traveler RPG, and she played the Star Trek RPG, and this was all like before even the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons, as far as I know. Actually,
Yeah.
I think they were coming out about the same time. Anyway, so I was like 10 or 11, and she would pick me up from school, and we'd go to a bowling alley where she would practice, and I would be bored. And so she bought me the red box for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition, and I
Yeah.
poured over those books. I highlighted them. I drew in them. I like wrote on sheets of paper graphs. I built characters. I built dungeons and monsters, and it all started there. But my mother was also a software engineer, so she grew up in she was a civilian contractor
Sure.
for the Air Force in the 70s as a woman in a software engineering role. So she was effectively a unicorn at the time.
Yep.
And so I got a lot of that. Her nerdiness is entirely who I am. My dad is also a nerd, but he's like a car nerd. He put himself through college by rally racing and like doing odd jobs. He built engines. Like, he's built race cars. He's a very smart guy. But if you put an Android phone or an iPhone in front of him, he just locks up. He has no idea. I mean, he can like make a phone call with it. He can,
It's a
you know,
phone, right? It's a
he
phone.
can
More than
text
a
me,
phone.
but like that's it, right? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just two very different people that have rubbed their nerdiness off on me very differently.
Yeah.
I wrench on my own cars because I like saving money, and it's only a little bit of time, so I'm not afraid of
And,
like doing an
and
oil
you're
change or
capable
whatever.
and you're capable of doing it. So
Right.
you understand how to do it. So you have the skill set to do it. You have the time. You're willing to invest the time to do it, and you don't mind getting your hands dirty.
It's true. In
So
fact,
that.
they are currently covered in paint from. I was actually painting a dreadnought here.
Oh, look at that.
So just getting
Yeah.
started, but yeah.
So this was exciting, and I took up lots of your time.
Yeah, it is very late for you. It's 9 here, so it's midnight there. So I will let you go. Rick, thank
11.
you so
11.
much. You're not quite Eastern time then?
I'm central. I'm central with Alabama. Alabama Central Time Zone.
Wow, okay. That's like on the Pacific coast. It's like, I mean, I know Arizona isn't on the coast, but they are in the Pacific time zone, but they never have
Yeah,
daylight savings time.
they
Yeah.
never change. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Which Oregon's legislature actually passed like last year, but I guess it needs to be ratified by the national Congress or Senate, so it'll never happen. They're a little busy. But
Yeah, that's good. So I like gaming. The tournaments are good to go to if you really want to see and experience that intensity, because it can be very intense.
oh, I believe it. Yeah.
It can be very intense, and you got to be willing to lose. I mean, because you're
Mm,
playing against, look, 250 players, only one wins.
yeah. And you're like
Everybody else.
ACO, you had like all the Art of War guys there,
Oh
so
yeah,
John Lennon, you had, Richard Siegler, you had Nick Nanavati, you had Brad Chester,
yeah,
and then you got, there are a ton of very good players there.
yes.
Tons of very good players there. So,
And so if you don't go there with the idea that you're going to have to be competitive, you're going to be sorry. Your feelings are going to get hurt.
yeah.
And I can say most of the games are fun. I enjoyed seeing the armies because what a what a what an amazing amount of painted armies there are.
Yeah, I believe it. Um yeah. I mean, I'm just floundering my way through painting right now, but my models get better every time, so that's something.
It
Um,
is.
but I will let you go, my friend. Thank you so much for spending this 2.5 hours with me. It's been an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure. I can see why Jason says you're
He's too kind.
a gentleman. So, um, and
He's too
here's
kind.
maybe one of these days we'll be across from each other at the same table. We'll see.
We can see.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Have a great evening.